Welcome to the first of two energy webinars hosted by Clare County Council and Tipperary Energy Agency. It's great to have you all here tonight to hopefully learn one or two things about solar PV. From my perspective, I'm the Climate Action Coordinator with Clare County Council. Chris Dixon O'Meara is also on the call here. He's the Climate Action Officer. And early last week, Clare County Council would have adopted the Climate Action Plan, which is kind of our pathway forward to reducing emissions and increasing kind of climate resiliency over the next 5 years. And as part of that, within the Climate Action Plan, we have a number of actions about the built environment and how we reduce our emissions and how we reduce the amount of energy that is used in our buildings. And tonight is about helping the general public understand a bit more about solar PV, how it works, the ins and outs of it. Some of it's a bit technical, other parts of it is quite straightforward. But I'd like to thank Tipperary Energy Agency, Sukanya and Michael and Lisa, Vaughan and Shane for partnering us and asking us to come on board with this European project. So there's a webinar this evening, and there's a webinar on next week as well. And the subject of next week's webinar is anaerobic digestion, which is something that has been spoken about a lot around the country, and perhaps people need to be a little bit more informed on that as well. So with that, I'd like to hand over to Sukanya with Tipperary Energy Agency. Thank you.
Thanks, Morgan. Good evening, everyone, and welcome here at this weird hour. So thank you for being here. So I'm Dr. Sukanya Saikia. I'm the Climate Action Engagement and Communication Specialist in Tipperary Energy Agency. So Tipperary Energy Agency, just to give a brief overview, it's an energy agency in NENA, and we work on a variety of projects on European and national projects, and we work closely with local authorities and different partners all across Europe. And all of our projects have an underlying focus on energy transition and climate neutrality. So that's just a gist of what we do. And today we have here Michael O'Shea, Mick, who is an energy engineer, and he recently qualified as a BER assessor as well. And he has also worked in a wide variety of projects, national and EU, in the area of residential heat pumps, and in the training and capacity building in the construction sector, and commercial energy surveying. And he recently joined Tipperary Energy Agency, and we are happy to have him. So today he will be presenting from TEA on the topic of solar PV, and he will also be presenting on anaerobic digestion next week. He's an excellent speaker. So, yep, I'll hand it over to you, Mick, now.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to share screen here. And slideshow. So are we okay? Can we see? Yeah, great. So good evening, everybody. Just a slight forgiveness of my voice may change through this. I just have a bit of a cough, so forgive me if I have to stop and take some water on board. It's just to get through this next half an hour and Q&A. So look, again, I'm delighted to be here. This presentation is being hosted by Clare County Council and Tipperary Energy Agency under the remarkable project. So just what we're hoping to get through in the next half an hour is kind of a big picture view of what, why the big push for PV. Then we'll look at some of the technical sides. You could talk a lot about PV, so I'm going to try to squeeze a lot in here in half an hour. So we'll just quickly look at some of the technical side, look particularly at the residential and farming business, and I'll open the floor then for Q&As. And if we can't answer a question, we'll endeavour to get back to you with the answer. So, okay, so the big picture stuff. This is I think for me, a real powerful graph. It's kind of shown, globally, what our temperatures are increasing by, and the goal from the climate, from the Paris Accord was to try keep below 1.5 degrees globally. And you can see the trend is very much, we're very close to getting by that, unless we can pull on the brakes. And this is basically, I suppose, why we're all kind of in the room this evening, is to try address this matter in whatever small steps we can. So what's Ireland doing about it? So we have quite ambitious targets. So for our 2030 targets, we're looking for a reduction of 51% from our baseline of 2018. So the Irish government decided to put the sectors together, and one of the sectors, the biggest kind of reduction they're hoping for, is the electricity market. And that's kind of their goal, is the electrification of everything, electrification of transport, of heating in our house, and of generation of electricity. So tonight's conversation fits inside this 75%. So solar will contribute at the 3 different levels there. When we start you can see it, like solar farms are becoming evident in the landscape now. More and more commercial is there, and micro generation. You can see it from the amount of vans on the road at the moment. So there is a big push for solar. So just to give you an idea of what's kind of happened on the solar stuff. So this is data from SEAI, and this is the number of actually solar PV systems installed under the grant system. So looking from 2019 right through, like we're on a really good trajectory. Excuse me. I mean, we're only in February, but it's looking like that they're definitely going to meet, if not surpass 25,000 for 24. So look, anyway, I suppose this slide is just showing that adoption is taking place. That there's, obviously you could argue the point, saying that the Ukrainian war and the increase in energy crisis has caused this, but nevertheless, the grants, the government policies, they're driving it forward, which is great. So looking at just kind of big picture, why PV? So main thing is, like, from my point of view, is to mitigate climate change. The technology is mature and it's proven. It's advancing all the time. It's getting, we're getting more watts per meter squared. We're getting the ability to get solar generation from the back of the panels now as well. There's a high reliability, very low maintenance. We're gone past the days of having micro turbines all around the country, because people were replacing bearings all the time. It's going to contribute massively to meeting our climate action targets. It is making financial sense in the sense of the grants, and also, I suppose you could argue that depending on the unit rate that we pay for electricity, when we were creeping towards 47, 51 cent, it was making real financial sense. Now we're creeping, it's slowly, the wholesale market's coming back down again, but it is making a financial, I think sorry, from my point of view, it is a financially sound investment. Again, we have the ability now with the government policy is again to sell excess back into the market, so we're actually getting paid instead of just all going back there for free like a few years ago. The planning laws have changed to be much more favorable now. We're no longer restricted to on domestic sizes to the kind of the size of the system without applying for planning. So just these are just a quick, I swear everyone's probably seen these. Left hand side is a typical residential, right hand side is a typical commercial. So just kind of going into the different parts of the systems. This is just a graphic kind of talking about what the terminology. So from now on, we'll be using the terminology that's around solar. If someone is going to get a company coming over, they'll be talking about these words. So the panels obviously are they'll either be sitting on the roof or on an array on the ground. The second thing is the inverter, which is kind of the brains of the machine. It's taken. It has the ability. It's an electronic kind of, I suppose, so to say, like a computer in one sense, is taking DC to AC and has the ability then to communicate that back out through a web interface, so we can manage it. The next thing then is the smart meter. So again, massive rollout of smart meters across the country. A great ability then to interface, what's going on in your systems. Then 5 represents the grid. 6 and 7 are optional in a sense they're the battery and the hot water diverters, but quite a common, in my opinion, if I'm seeing a lot of them now, it's quite a common feature in what homeowners are choosing and commercial guys are choosing as well. So just this is kind of on the types of mounting systems you'd see out there. So top left is the roof mounted, again, typically anchors with rails on them. Bottom left is the ground mounted via frame. On the right hand side is a ground mounted with ballast. So these ballasts kind of bins, they're either, you know, weighted down with water, concrete, and then the panels sit in them on the orientation there. So this is just going through quick steps of what you typically see on a slated roof. So the step one is the kind of the adding the roof hooks. Again, it's important, you know, at this point that the quality of the workmanship is really high, because, you know, you don't want to be left with leaky roofs, you know. So it's you know, it's paramount that the people that are doing this job are competent and know what they're at. The next thing then, after obviously the hooks get installed, you're talking about putting the rails up, and then the panels at the last part in the mounting system. Anyway, after that you're running cables and you're doing the electrical services. So the inverter, where this, as I said, is the brains of the system. You know, again, they vary in size, but typically carry on suitcase kind of size. They can be mounted internally or externally, most often internally, but you'd see, I've seen them in crawl spaces in attics, I've seen them in cupboards. You know, in my opinion, not ideal in a crawl space in an attic in the sense of trying to get at them, but sometimes you're limited where you can put them. Their goal is to connect to the distribution board, and really importantly I think for the homeowner or the user is that the fact that they connect to the web interface, so you can see what is being produced on your system. So the batteries are being optional. Again, you know, again, the typical 5 kilowatt system would be the size of the carry-on suitcase. Again, I've seen them mounted internally or externally. They're installed generally close to the inverter to prevent losses. And you know, some homeowners, or sorry, some consumers are availing of the cheaper night rates to charge these up to use them during the day. So kind of managing their loads. So the last kind of piece of the puzzle that some people opt for is the hot water diverter. So again, excess PV usage is diverted straight to the hot water tank. So again, raising the temperature of the tank. It's a battery of hot water. Instead of a battery of electrons, it's a battery of hot water. So again, so this slide, then we're just going to talk about generally the steps in kind of sizing a solar PV. Sizing probably maybe the wrong word here, but let's say what you need to do and what you need to think of when you're thinking about a solar PV system. From my point of view, and I suppose from the energy agency point of view, energy efficiency is probably the most important step. So, you know, we need to look, our businesses, our homeowners, everyone needs to look at their homes and their businesses and seeing how their money is being spent, in the sense of how many units of energy are being spent and where they're being spent. In my opinion, there's very little point spending loads of money on solar and you have inefficient systems that you can rectify. You know, there's a lot of old fridges with compressors running. There is under sink heaters in commercial places that you know, they're not being timed on and off during occupancy, so they're constantly just on a stat. You know, like, they're low hanging fruit. They need to be rectified, fix them, and when you've all that sorted, you know, then consider your renewable system. You know, step two, then, if you know, once you've got those things addressed, is kind of you're looking at the energy usage, and maybe step 1 and 2 are together. You kind of have to, suppose, understand your bills. Are you high? Are you low in comparison to the averages? And if you don't know, you know, this is where your communication is really important. You talk to your neighbors, your friends, your business colleagues that maybe are in other businesses to find out, well, what is the usage of, you know, a 50-seater you know, restaurant. You know, what, you know, you have to start looking at these things and monitor them. Getting 12 months is ideal. Again, it's brilliant now, I suppose, with the smart meters. You can get a lot of these services are online, so you can get the graphs straight away. You don't have to actually, you know, do the paper trail. Excuse me. Sorry. So step 3 then is identify the loads that don't match the daylight. So this is specifically for solar. So if you do have, for example, electric heating, like an air source heat pump that is heating underfloor at night, you know, solar is by itself is not massively going to contribute towards that. So that's where you might consider using the solar in tandem with the battery to help the air source heat pump preheat the house at night on, you know. Again, you know, other areas are septic tanks. People that have septic tanks, there's either septic tanks and wells. In one sense, you're going to have pumps, you're going to have agitators that are coming on when they need to come on. So, you know, sometimes you're not going to match it exactly with the daylight hours, and it's to be aware of that. So it's kind of about the solar won't be able to meet all the needs, but maybe with the addition of a battery, it can. And again, I suppose you're looking at in the solar system now with the smart tariffs. Can you avail of a cheap night rate, you know, in tandem with the solar? So step 4, looking at the peak loads here. So, you know, I suppose in our house, for example, you know, when we run the electric shower and the oven is on, and you know, we could be drawing 7 kilowatts, 8 kilowatts on a peak load. Now, it doesn't make sense for us to try and match our solar capacity just for that peak load, because you know, that only happens in moments throughout the day, you know. So it's looking at what is you know, kind of relevant for your home or your business. And again, most of the guys that will come to I suppose to spec for the solar panel or to look for your business will go through this in detail with you. The last one there is looking at the you know, ask yourself, can you move electricity loads to other times? So that's, again, are you able to move loads with the help of technology? You know, like, for example, now smart washing machines, smart dishwashers that can be pre-programmed to work where solar is to its maximum, and you don't have to be there to hit the switch. You know, it's looking at technology, and it's also then looking at what the suppliers are offering. Because you know, sometimes if you can avoid, in most cases, you're getting penalized between 5 and 7, because that's the peak load. That's when the most people in the nation are you know, boiling their kettles, running in to watch the soaps. If you can avoid those periods and move your load off those periods, you're going to be very much to the benefit. Or if you need to use those time periods, does solar have your batteries fully charged up by that time? Or in the summer, the solar meet the needs completely, you know. So anyway, just excuse me, this graph is just the idea that it's showing you, sorry, feedback, the idea of what solar would be on a typical day. So the blue indicates an example of our house, to be honest, how our family lives. You know, we get up in the morning and we're out of the house during the day, and we're back in the evening. And the solar energy production then obviously is in the center. You know, it's from, you know, generally in you know, from 10 o'clock till 3 o'clock is the prime, and we're not in the house. So in this scenario, we're either going to sell it back to the grid, get paid, or we're going to charge our battery, or we're going to charge our hot water. And again, all those options, you know, especially with the battery and the hot water, is additional cost. But again, I suppose the fact is that you can sell it back to the grid and get some money is a big help. Okay, so this is just an example of a residential. So this is a suburban house. It's fully detached, east-west orientation on the roof. The homeowner wanted a solar PV setup with a battery. So the proposal was put forward that they would put 6 panels of 435 watts facing east, 8 panels facing west, a combined system set up there around 6 kilowatts. They wanted a battery, so a 5.1 kilowatt battery, an inverter. So you can see that, you know, with the guts of 12 grand that the homeowner needed to find, they were going to get the grant back. But, you know, getting that, you know, initially you're looking at where you're going to get the 12 grand. And in this scenario, I think they went for one of the green loans through An Post, or sorry, it was An Post or the credit union, but they went through the cheaper interest rate green loans. And a point to note here is that to avail of the grant, you must get a BER post works, and the BER price can vary across the country, also vary depending on the size of the house and the complexity of the house. But an approximate figure is 250 for that BER, and I have seen where companies have absorbed that in to the price they're giving the customer. But again, you know, I think the clearer the breakdown of the price, the better, in my opinion. So, you know, getting one big price from a company without the breakdown limits your ability to, you know, to get other quotes and compare. So this is what the software that most, I'd say, solar companies use have the ability to put in the system details, and then it generates how many kilowatt hours in the year it would expect. But what they've done here is they have the average kilowatt hours per day generated and the consumption in the background. And you can see I like this graph because it shows that solar, you know, it's not the panacea for everything. You know, someone says, oh, I'm going to get solar and I'm going to get it and it's going to solve all my it's going to really reduce my electricity issues. Solar is related to the daylight hours, and it's really important. You can see in the graph here how what the potential of solar is and how it varies across the year. You know, obviously the peak in the summer, you know, the winter, especially when we're looking at electrical heating, and you can see the amount of heat pumps being put onto the market now. You know, like heat pumps are generally, you know, the heating season. If you're looking at you know, let's say heat pump research, they talk about, you know, September, October, November, December, January, and February, sometimes March, but depending. But you know, that's when the solar is at its least. Now, this is not I'm not dismissing solar. I'm just saying that we, as consumers, need to be aware of the limitations and the benefits of solar, especially when it comes to trying to tie all this technology in together. So look at savings and payback. So based on this particular project, they were looking at generating 5,207 kilowatts from the panels. They estimated the buildings to be, sorry, the savings to be 1,827 and the payback 4 years and 7 months. Now that payback was based on the unit rate of 43 cents and the feed-in tariff of 25 cents. Now, you know, if you look at the unit rates today, and I think there was an add-on you know, there's a new company out, and I think they were at 27, but someone in the room might be able to tell me that room, but it's a lot less. So, you know, the wholesale price of electricity will massively affect the payback years. So, you know, but it is, in my opinion, still is a very worthwhile thing to do. And the better we become at energy efficiency, the better solar is going to be. So looking at just kind of some key information here. Sorry, I just want to track the time. I'm conscious of the time here. So shop around for quotes is a big thing. This is on residential. This again applies completely to all the others as well. You should shop around. The planning permissions changed in October 2020, so there is 22. Sorry, there's no limit on the area of the solar panels. Obviously, you know, you're still limited by what the capacity is. What the ESB can tell you that you can get in. You know what I mean? You're not being able to put on you know, a 30 kilowatt system and the home can't take it. You know, so there is a caveats there. So the big thing, I suppose, is the government has given grants to do this. The breakdown of the grants is in the table here. But what I've seen across, you know, from my experience, this last section, the 2100 is quite a common one now. You know, people are looking for that 7-8 kilowatt system. Maybe it's just the houses that I'm visiting at the moment. But there is variations in the price, and you know, there's grant money there available from the smallest up to the cap. of 2100. So the farm side, so the TAMS grants. So for people in the room here that are farmers and that want to consider solar, so you know, a lot of dairy is looking at solar now. I suppose, look, I'll say farmers can, you know, should look at solar. The objective of the TAMS thing was this CAM scheme was to encourage self-consumption, lower the carbon footprint, and support the objective of a climate neutral farm. So with the TAMS on the planning permission side, you know, as long as you can have it ground mounted, as long as it don't, you know, you're planning exempt if you don't exceed 75 meters squared. Again, on the roof mounted, if you don't exceed 300 meters squared. The maximum system size you can avail of is up to 62 kilowatts. Applicants are only eligible to apply for 50% of the panel output in battery storage. So an example, what does that mean? So if they wanted, if they get a 10 kilowatt system, 5 kilowatts is all they could apply for on their battery. The grants, so 60%, which is great. Like, I mean, I think it's fantastic that there's such a large grant available for PV systems up to a maximum threshold of 90 grand. And then it can also include electricity usage in the home. So if you do live on the land and your home is on the land, you can avail of this as well. Sorry, your house can be connected to this system. So this is on the business side. This just to give you an idea, the picture here. This is a commercial mushroom place down in Wexford, 600 kilowatt system, and you can see, like, you know, it's great to see so many solar panels on a roof, and you know, like, it's, you know, there's probably more capacity, you know, if I look along that picture there. So the SEI, again, they run the non-domestic microgen grant, and again, this provides financial system to help businesses and other sectors. Important thing there is other sectors, so it's not just businesses. You know, you can look at the voluntary sector there, community sector as well, and to help install solar generation on their sites. So the grants available for this now, you know, I'm just showing you the kind of the money side. There is a, you know, once you want to go down this route, there's lots of steps. Let's say there's lots of steps, but there's steps involved. Like, you're going to have to get a company that's registered. And they're going to have to come out, going to have to go, you know, create a system for you. That system then has to be, you know, how would I say, agreed or signed off by SEAI before even you can start. So this is just showing you that there is money available. So for example, on the 7 kilowatt, you get 2,700, 30 kilowatt system, 8,600, and so on and so forth. So community, so I was asked to talk about community solar PV. I honestly can say that I haven't been involved in much community solar PV projects. So I had to do a bit of research on this to find out what would the funding possibilities be. And again, it does come under the non-domestic microgen grant under the SEAI. So again, the same figures on the previous slide apply to this, apply to the community. Also under leader funding. So leader funding is I suppose it's run, how would I say it? It's in every county, and it's you know, under different companies. What do you call them? Companies within the counties run it. So Waterford Leader Partnership, for example, run it in where I'm based, and it's different teams. So the first team is economic development, team 2 rural infrastructure, but team 3 environment and climate change, and under that, you know, subsection of team 3, there's the development of renewable energy. So, you know, communities can apply to leader funding under team 3, under subsection development of renewable energy, throw their name in the hat, and they may get funding for the project. Another option then is the SEAI Community Energy Grants. Just on the right-hand side here is an example. This was an energy master plan that Tipperary Energy Agency was involved with. So a bit more complex, but depending, you know, communities, the word community is not just necessarily, you know, a small play school, it can be everyone in it. So if there's a large number of people involved in the community and different entities, they could go down the route of this process. So stage one is kind of, you know, they call it learn, it's join or create a sustainable energy community. Stage two is create an energy master plan. And stage three then is activate the energy master plan and learn about assessing further funding. So basically the plan is something that kind of provides people with the confidence that, you know, the community knows what it wants, it's identified its baselines, it has identified its ambitions, and within its ambitions, it wants to encompass, for example, solar. You know, so there is, you know, through this process, there is possibilities of getting funding for communities. So, okay, so this last kind of slide I think applies to anyone considering, you know, solar. You know, when you want to compare, you know, in my opinion, again, rule of thumb, always get 3 quotes. And try compare the quotes as best you can for like. If you can't compare them like for like, you go back to the company and say, well, you know, can you split this figure down a bit further for me, please? So again, just going through the slide, you know, the brands for the panels, the inverters, the companies, the guarantee lengths of the panels, inverters, you know, batteries. You know, obviously price will come in here. It'd be great. Always, you know, always opt for the longest guarantee, but price may come into the picture. But it's you know, when you can see the quotes coming in, you can make an informed decision. Just probably a term there some people in the room don't know is what cycles is 6,000 cycles. So that's basically the amount of times the batteries can be charged and discharged. So again, a very important metric when you're looking at batteries is the amount of cycles. You know, if someone was trying to sell you a 100 cycle battery for your home, you know there's something really wrong. Again, the next point there is really important. Again, is, you know, no matter who comes onto your property, that the workmanship is, you know, is of a really high quality. They're competent people, and there's a guarantee with them. Again, the same point there about insurance, that they're, you know, that they have all their insurance details in order. It's required if they're under the SCAI system, but it's no harm in asking, you know. You know, it could be just a scenario where the insurance is out that day and they were on your roof that afternoon, you know. Professionalism of the interaction with the solar PV company, you know, like this is, I think, you know, whoever calls to your home or your business, they need to be professional. They need to follow up with professional quotes. They need to follow up when you have a concern, they answer it in a timely manner. You know, so these are just normal things. And again, the last point there is the BER included. Is the BER included for the residential grant work? So again, you know, that you're not getting asked if you're aware you have to pay for it after post works, grand, if it's included in the price or not, just to be aware of that. So yeah, so that's kind of where I am. I'm going to stop sharing this screen, and I'm going to open the floor to questions.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for the presentation. I hope it was informative. It was for me. And just wanted to put it out there. And Gloria, thank you for the chat, like the message in the chat box. So this presentation and this collaboration is in part of the Remarkable project, which is led by TUS. So we enable climate leadership in Ireland, and this project was founded by Seamus Hoyne in 2021. And yep, so if anyone has any questions for Mick.
I might come back in there if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks very much, Mick. A lot of information there. Just a couple of observations from my perspective. The example you used there was a payback period of 4 years and 7 months. And I suppose to put it into context, if the unit rate does decrease, you know, it might bring the payback period up to maybe 8 years. But it's important to say, isn't it, that the design life of these panels are 20 years long. So even at a lower unit rate, wholesale price, the payback is still pretty decent. And then the second thing I wanted to say on the agricultural sector is I think a 60%. Obviously, the capital costs associated with an agricultural project are much higher, but a 60%. 60% towards the funding of the project is very good, and I suppose the last thing I just wanted to say on the activation on your slide on the energy plans and the activation of the energy plans. There is a community climate action program now started, led by the Department of the Environment, and there's money this time around the Clare County Council will be administering, and I suppose community solar can be funded through it as well. It's really oversubscribed at the moment, but I expect that it's a 100% funded project or fund, but I expect that it's going to be so popular around the country that it will continue over the years, hopefully, and that will be another avenue perhaps that can be used to fund solar at a community level. And thanks again, Mick. That was excellent.
Yeah, no, I agree in the sense that, you know, some people look at payback in the sense that it's, you know, we have to get this on a business sense under, you know, 5-10 years and has to meet it. But, you know, the climate requires us to make massive changes, and, you know, be it 5 or be it 10 years, it is the right thing to do. They're super reliable panels, exactly as you were saying. No maintenance. Once this goes up, you know, it's not coming down, for, you know, the guts of 20 years there. So I agree with you completely. Yeah. So, you know, sometimes Q&As can be quite, you know, people are not willing to put their hands up. Sorry, I'm just reading. Sorry, I find these hard as well. You have to read the chat box and wait.
Yeah, I'll come in there for you, Mick, if you want.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Lorraine Power. I'm the County Clare mentor for the Sustainable Energy Communities. Hi, Lorraine. Program based at CLDC. If you know any group that want guidance or support, Lorraine has put her contact details there. lpower@cldc.ie. Dorothea Frankovic, I hope I pronounced that okay. Maybe a silly question, but just regarding residential PV, at the moment we are buying a new built house. Attic is not insulated yet, but we would like to consider putting PV in a few years' time. Is there some requirement how attic needs to be insulated, or is it not important? Thank you.
Yeah, you know, like I mean, I suppose from an energy point of view, you'd always be concerned when you hear that attic not being insulated in a new build, unless it's a kind of one of these dormer builds where the insulation is in the roof pitch. You know, I would really need more detail there. And she's you know, Dorothy, you're very welcome to email me, and I'll get back to you with you know, I have no problem taking a call or any time to give you some advice on any of this stuff, you know, but I would need more time than we probably have this evening. So
yeah, Dorothea, I might come in on that as well. The answer to your question, I believe, is yes. If it's a new build house, the attic should absolutely be insulated, and not only insulated, but insulated with, if it's a cold attic, be insulated with approximately 400 millimeters of rock wool. The solar PV is going to be on the outside of the roof, and there might be connections coming in. But if you don't insulate your attic and you're using a heat pump system, the heat will dissipate out through your ceiling quicker. Therefore, your heat pump is working harder. Therefore, you're using more electricity. So, the answer, I suppose, really, in summary, is yes, should be insulated. Colm Garvey, worth mentioning that having a battery system also gives you resilience if the grid ever goes down. That's a good point, Colm.
Absolutely.
and Michael O'Shea's details, Michael Mick's details there were just put up, and
Yeah.
Dorothea, thank you very much. She will look that up, and best of luck with the new build, Dorothea. So I think that summarizes the questions. Sukanya, do you want to mention before we go again just next week's webinar, if that would be of interest to people?
Sure. So next week, we are again collaborating with Clare County Council on the Remarkable project, and we are organizing a webinar on anaerobic digestion that is on 28th Feb at the same time, 7 p.m. So if you are interested, please do join us, and I will send on the meeting invite and the details closer to the webinar. So yep, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. And just to say as well that you will find the climate action plan for Clare County Council and details of all the climate action team on our website, on the Clare County Council website. So thanks again to Tipperary Energy Agency, to Sukanya and Mick, and indeed Chris and anyone who's helped out here, and of course everyone for tuning in. So I think we'll leave it at that, will we?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.